Every generation leaves behind mysteries, stories that just don't fit into the map of reality we've drawn for ourselves. These are the moments that make us question everything we think we know about time, identity, and the very fabric of truth. But some stories go even further. Some stories make us wonder, what if our world isn't alone? What if there are others, running parallel to ours, sometimes touching, sometimes colliding? This is one of those stories, and it begins with a woman who arrived from nowhere. It was a completely normal morning at JFK International Airport in New York. Flights from Tokyo had just landed, and the usual hustle and bustle filled the arrivals hall. Among the hundreds of passengers stood a calm, confident woman, holding a dark blue passport. When she reached the immigration counter, the officer took her passport, opened it, and froze. It was issued by a country called Torenza. He checked his system again. The name didn't exist in any database, on any map, or in any historical record. He scanned it, fully expecting an error message to pop up. But the screen flashed, "Valid entry." The passport chip worked. The hologram was perfect. Everything about it looked completely authentic. When they asked her where Torenza was, she simply smiled and said, "It's a small island between Japan and Mexico." But there is no such island. No such coordinates exist on any map. There's nothing but open ocean where she claimed her home was. Her visa stamps were from airports that didn't exist. Her boarding pass listed airlines that no one had ever heard of. Throughout it all, the woman remained calm, polite, and absolutely sure of her story. Officers held her for questioning. For 48 hours, she stayed in a secure room. And then, she vanished. No camera caught her leaving. No ID, no luggage, not a single trace was left behind. It was as if she had never existed at all. But this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Decades earlier, in 1954, a similar incident unfolded at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. A man arrived, seemingly for a routine business meeting. He wore a sharp suit, carried a briefcase, and spoke fluent French and Japanese. When he handed his passport to the officer, the confusion began all over again. The passport was from a country called Taured. The man insisted Taured was a small nation located between France and Spain, and he claimed he'd traveled to Japan many times before on business. The officers pulled out a map and pointed to the region he described, showing him the tiny country of Andorra. He became agitated, almost angry, and said, "You're wrong. My country has existed for 1,000 years." His passport looked real. It had legitimate stamps from existing European countries, but also stamps from places that were completely fictional. The authorities decided to place him in a nearby hotel room under guard for the night while they investigated his bizarre claims. But by morning, the man and all of his belongings had disappeared. The door was locked from the inside. The guards posted outside his room never saw him leave. No one ever found him again. It was as if he stepped out of this world just as mysteriously as he had stepped in. And if we look even further back, centuries before either of these airport events, another strange case shook the world. In the 12th century, in the small English village of Woolpit, 2 children suddenly appeared at the edge of a forest. What was so strange about them? Their skin was a distinct shade of green. They spoke a language that no one could understand, and their clothes were made from a fabric that nobody in the village recognized. When the villagers tried to feed them, they refused all food except for raw beans. Over time, they slowly adapted and learned to speak English. The boy, sadly, did not live long, but the girl survived and eventually told her incredible story. She said they came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a world that existed beneath ours, perpetually in a state of twilight, where the sun never fully rose. They had been tending their father's flock when they heard a loud noise and followed a river of light emerging into our world. No one ever found this subterranean land. The girl lived the rest of her life among the villagers, her skin eventually losing its green hue, but she always maintained that she came from a world just below the light. Then, in 1828, another enigma. A teenage boy appeared suddenly on the streets of Nuremberg, Germany. He could barely walk and could only speak a few words. He carried a letter addressed to a local cavalry captain. The letter claimed he had been raised in total darkness and isolation his entire life. He called himself Caspar Hauser. As he learned to talk, he described being kept in a tiny dark cell with no light and no human contact, until one day a mysterious man took him outside, taught him a few phrases, showed him the city from a distance, and then abandoned him there. No one knew where he came from. His DNA didn't match anyone in any known database. He was a complete anomaly. Then, years later, his story took a tragic turn. He was found stabbed, and before he died, he supposedly left behind a cryptic message: "Man from an unknown origin." His true identity and the reason for his strange life and death remain a mystery to this day. Fast forward to the dawn of the Internet age. In the year 2000, an anonymous user began posting on online forums, calling himself John Titor. He made an astonishing claim. He was a soldier from the year 2036, sent back in time on a military mission. His objective? To retrieve an old IBM 5100 computer, which he said was needed to debug critical systems in his future. He described a future ravaged by global conflicts, explained the physics of time travel, and even made predictions. He talked about the rise of artificial intelligence and its integration into everyday life, years before it became the reality it is today. He said he came from a parallel timeline, one just slightly different from ours, where history had forked and taken another path. And then, just as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished. His posts were deleted. His account was wiped clean. But his predictions, many of them disturbingly, came true. From the man of Taured to the woman of Torenza, from the green children of Woolpit to the mysterious Caspar Hauser and the time traveler John Titor. These stories span centuries, yet they all share a common chilling thread. Each one involves travelers from nowhere. Each involves people who appeared with proof, passports, stories, even unique physical traits of worlds that don't seem to exist in our reality. And almost all of them vanished just as mysteriously as they came. Could they all be connected? Could our world be just one of many timelines, intersecting only when reality fractures for a brief moment? Some scientists and theorists call it the time slip phenomenon or a dimensional rift, a moment when parallel realities overlap, allowing someone from one dimension to accidentally cross into another. Maybe these travelers didn't mean to come here. Maybe they are the unfortunate victims of a cosmic accident. People lost between timelines, desperately searching for a way back home. Or maybe they're trying to tell us something. That our world isn't the only one. That the universe is layered, complex, and far more mysterious than we can imagine. And sometimes, just sometimes, those layers bleed into each other. So the next time you hear a news report about a traveler who can't be identified, or a strange artifact is found with an unknown origin, or a passport is discovered from a nation that never existed, just ask yourself, what if it's happening again? What if the border between our world and another is far thinner than we think? And what if somewhere right now, in a different reality, someone is looking at your passport and asking themselves, where on earth is that country? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of our perception, where reality bends and the impossible walks among us.